And welcome to Top Story. This morning we are keeping an eye on the municipal election upcoming in October 22nd, as we have been throughout the campaign, actually. And we're happy to be working on some debates and different formats so that we can reintroduce you to the candidates. We are partnering for one of our debates with the Ratepayers Association here in Sault Ste. Marie, and they are going to help us out with the mayoral candidate debate. So that promises to be very interesting. So stay tuned for that. And now joining us to tell us, for instance, Bill Murphy, what is the Ratepayers Association in the Soo?
The Ratepayers is an organization of citizens, community members, who are interested in municipal governance. And not much more complicated than that. We describe ourselves as taxpayers talking to taxpayers.
So when you say an interest in municipal elections, do you go then to the city, to City Hall, to the City Council meetings to voice your opinions on behalf of people, or do you do that on behalf of like you as an organization?
Well, if there's an issue in the city, then what we see ourselves is an experienced group of taxpayers who will assist another group of taxpayers to bring an issue forward in a constructive manner. Right?
I see.
So we have made presentations, not myself personally, but we've been in city councils making presentations on different issues. And most recently down at the Civic Center, we invited two groups that expressed interest in, one, community safety through Neighborhood Watch, and secondly, traffic control in the P-Patch. And we had around 50 people that gathered, and we had two different groups, one on one table, one on another, and we're saying, okay, what's the issue? Mm-hmm. And then what are the facts around that issue, and what can we do constructively about that? So it was the beginning of a conversation, and we facilitated that.
So it sounds like you're sort of a mediator between different organizations, different sectors of the community.
Yeah. The community needs to talk to each other, and this is one of the things that you do is ONNtv. You help the community have community conversations, and dialogue and debate and vigorous discussions are all healthy. And oftentimes we have maybe a coffee quarterback or neighbors complaining to neighbors, and we're saying if we can help put some shape to those, some form to that, we can have better conversations and bring a more constructive criticism or suggestions to the governance of the municipality.
It's so good and reassuring to know that there's a voice out there for us.
Yeah.
Now tell us about joining the Ratepayers Association. If somebody watching wants to, because they're interested in being a mediator and you know, being informed and helping to inform the rest of the community, do they, for instance, if they want to join, do they have to be of a political party? Do they have to, you know, have certain beliefs? What are the qualifications?
There are no qualifications other than you're a resident of Sault Ste. Marie or a taxpayer. So we have a Facebook location. You can communicate to us through that. We have an email, ratepayers at hotmail, SueRatepayers@hotmail.com. And if someone has an issue that they feel we can help them with, contact us.
Awesome. We are very excited because we get to partner with Bill and the Sault Ste. Marie Ratepayers Association, as I mentioned, for the upcoming mayoral candidates election. How are you finding the campaign so far? What do you think? For the mayor's specifically.
The mayor's campaign, I see the signs going up, but I haven't heard a whole lot about the conversation. Mm-hmm. So recently I had a neighbors meeting among ourselves, and we said what's going on in the city that we're concerned about, what we like to see from our candidates. And so I've had some local conversation, but I haven't seen a whole lot apart from some of the interviews that you've done with candidates mm-hmm. on this station.
Yeah. You know what? I think it's interesting that having said what you've said about the Ratepayers Association, that you would partner with someone like us to, again, inform the community, because an educated voter is 100%.
Mm-hmm. And that's what we want to see. And so we're trying to help that happen. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now, during the debate, are you expecting questions from like a forum, or will you have moderators? I think that we'll be moderating, but will you accept questions from public, or is it just sort of like going to be fairly regimented?
We are looking to have it organized, and so we're asking for groups to submit questions to us. We'd like to see the candidates submit questions that they feel are important to us. What we'll try to do is aggregate those into simpler topical questions and bring them to the table, and then there will be the moderator. We're thinking about 10 minutes per question, 3 minutes for the person that we pose it to, and 2 minutes for the other 3 candidates, and we'll rotate that. And although we're saying that's the time frame, we're going to say to the moderator, go with the flow.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. Because sometimes at these debates, which is what's so fun for us to do them for, is that conversations get started. And sometimes it happens when you don't think it's going to.
Yeah.
Because you think an issue maybe is sort of a quieter issue, and then all of a sudden people are, getting right into the discussion. So I think it's good to keep it a little open, not so restricted.
Well, we want to have an open question. We are going to not have very little preamble to our questions. We're going to try to make them neutral, concise, and clear. But we might say, what do you think of this? And then let the candidates run with it. And they won't be responding to a prepared question. It's going to be more or less impromptu. Here's a question based on the municipal act. You have these responsibilities. How do you feel you're going to respond to them? And yeah, you could get some good impromptu. And if the questions are going, if there's energy behind that, if there's passion and something to be said, we'll go with that. So it should be interesting.
Yeah, it's going to be a great one. It's actually, with regards to the campaigning so far, it's been an interesting mayoralty race, I think, with sort of 2 of the contenders being very vocal and standing up and speaking their truth and their numbers. And so it should be interesting for sure.
Yeah, we'll have different points of view.
Yeah. When's it going to be?
It's October 2nd at Superior Heights, their auditorium/theater. It can hold about 150 people, so that's not a whole lot of people, and we encourage everyone to come that wants to be there. And the candidates will be behind a lectern. They'll have wireless microphones, and they'll be really free to move, to address the audience and the cameras.
So it sounds kind of like a town hall feel.
I like to think that,
Yeah.
as opposed to quote unquote on debate. Let's have a discussion.
Right.
Let's air our points of view, and let the people make the decision.
I think it's really important because to offer information, and I think that's why it's so awesome that we get to do this debate with the Ratepayers Association bill, because like I said earlier, if you're a voter and you're voting just because you feel like you should, and you're not really sure of what the issues are, you really need to be, and there's no excuse really for not being informed.
And I suggest people talk to the neighbors, like I did this week. We just sat around and had a chat, discussed the candidates, and people came away with at least a sense of what the neighbors were thinking, and they can make their own decision from there. But conversations like that are useful, and I think they serve us once the candidates are elected. We've had a chance to say, I'm interested, I care, and as the city moves forward, we'll continue the conversations. And that's what I think our representatives need from us. Sometimes we elect them and just let them go and
then
run.
we
We don't pay attention anymore.
We don't challenge them, we don't,
But they to do their job, they need to hear from us, right? And those conversations are necessary. Yeah.
Absolutely. Any surprises in the conversations that you had with your neighbors?
No surprises at all. We hear a lot of the same. The candidates have a very short little blurb to say, so a lot of the same things are said. All motherhood and apple pie and those kinds of things. So what we hope to see, especially in these debates, put some meat on those bones.
Right. We know what your idea is. How are you going to make it work?
How are you going to do
Right.
it? Like one fellow said, for 30 years I've been hearing more jobs, less taxes. But how does that happen?
Right.
Well, let's hear about that.
And you know what? If we're still saying it 30 years later, how come it hasn't happened, right?
Yeah.
In some people's minds, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Looking forward to it.
It
Thanks
should
so
be a good
much.
debate. Yeah.
Good to see you, and thanks for coming in, Bill. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Levin.
We have more Top Story coming up right after this.